No, it didn't go on.
Right here, right now, 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 right here, right now.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Thursday edition of Fly Like an Eagle podcast. I'm here. My name is Kyle Mager with my co-host, Zach Harris, and we are here to talk about the Baltimore Ravens coming into Philly. But we are here to announce our phone number because our phone line is up tonight, 518-539-4911. If you want to get in and voice your displeasure, voice your thoughts and opinions about this upcoming game or the last game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you want to do that, just call that number. It's going to be hanging at the bottom of the screen. And yeah, so we're facing the most dynamic team in the league, not named the Kansas City Chiefs this week, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. We play them once every 4 years, and this time it's in Philadelphia. The last time they played in Philadelphia, 2012, they won the Super Bowl, but that was one of our rare wins that season as we went 4-12 in 2012, but we beat the Super Bowl champions with Ray Rice, with Joe Flacco. Michael Vick scored, what was it? A game go-ahead touchdown with 39 seconds left, and then I think they missed a field goal or didn't even attempt a field goal. I was at the game. I don't even remember it, but whatever. They're coming back into town with fans in the stands, Zach. I'm excited for this one. I was thinking about going. It's a little bit out of my price range right now because it's like $500 a ticket for the lower bowl, but I know some people that are going. I'm jealous, but it is what it is. I'm just happy that fans are going to be back at the link this Sunday to witness that stud in Lamar Jackson and that stud in Carson Wentz, who looked great on Sunday. Unfortunately, we didn't get it done because our defense absolutely sucked, but I am happy to see Carson Wentz back, throwing it to Fulgham, who looks like the next Randy Moss. Yeah, I said it. I'm not going to shy away from that. 2 games into the season, the guy is an absolute beast, and you can take that to the bank. The guy is for real. He's not going to fade away, and if we bench him, I swear to God, I am going to scream at the top of my lungs next Thursday to get everyone in the organization fired because this guy is the next big thing, and I'm excited for Sunday. Zach, how you doing tonight, bud?
Hey, I'm doing good. I want to touch on one of the things. Travis Fulgham, one of the most important parts of Travis Fulgham's game is the connection that he has with Carson Wentz. And throughout the season, we've seen Carson play with a bunch of practice squad players, a bunch of 5th and 6th string wide receivers. This guy he has connection with. Don't take that away because, Zach Ertz isn't getting the job done. He isn't getting open. Goddard's injured. This is one guy that, for whatever reason, he's found a nice little connection with, and he trusts him. He throws him the ball in tight situations. So let's not let that down. Let's keep it rolling until things go awry, because at this point in the season, what do we have to play for? Just keep it rolling.
Yeah, I haven't seen him drop a catch this year, man. And honestly, this guy has everything you want in a wide receiver. Now, I know he did come out of Old Dominion. I know he got switched around from teams, like flopped around from teams year after year, and he just came from the Lions. I understand that. But Travis Fulgham, to me, when I see this guy play, I haven't seen him drop a catch this year, like I just said. He bounces off defenders, big body, goes up for the ball, and brings it down. Carson Wentz has looked his most fluid he has since 2017 with this guy on the field. We scored 29 points last week against the top-rated defense in the league, in my opinion. Everyone else has their opinions. I think the Steelers are the best defensive team in the league. And honestly, I feel that this guy is so poised to play right now. Why would you put Alshon Jeffrey in there when you have a young stud in Travis Fulgham? He's only 25 years old. Alshon Jeffrey, he's on his way out. I know you're trying to get your bang for your buck for the guy. I understand that, but you have to play who's the best on this team right now. Now, who do you go and bench if you were to bring back DeSean Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey? Who would you bench? Would you bench Greg Ward? personally, I would bench Greg Ward because as much as I like the guy, he's the less talented out of all of them. So I would just get rid of him. Who would you bench to keep Travis Fulgham in the game?
Right now, I think DeSean Jackson. We've seen it. We know what he is. He's either boom or bust. And right now, Travis Fulgham has been that guy, boom or bust, but with a lot of booming and a lot of less busting. So for me, I think you would slowly work in DeSean and Alshon. So I wouldn't bench anyone right now because they've been out for quite a while. You can't just throw them in and think, hey, they're going to have a connection with Carson. Hey, they're going to be in football shape. They're going to be ready to go for 60-plus plays on offense. So I think you slowly work them in. I'm interested to see Alshon on the field because he is a kind of guy that can box out and use his body the way that Travis Fulgham has shown that he can do. So I think that would give Carson Wentz two viable options that would go to on third down or, second and long, one of those big play body kind of type of throws where you need from your receivers to go up and get the ball. I think those would be two viable options for that. So I'm kind of curious to see if Alshon can come in and play that type of role once again because Fulgham's been playing it great. He's been high pointing the ball, and that's one thing that I talked about with John Hightower in the back of the end zone where he didn't high point the ball. He didn't try to catch it with his hands. He tried to catch it with his body. And Alshon is that guy that always tries to catch it with his hands. So I would be interested to see him coming back into this lineup. For me, DeSean Jackson, I'm sorry. I was one of the people that wanted the reunion, but at this point, he is what he is. He's going to be that dynamic playmaker when he can actually get open and get the ball. But at this point, he's not really doing much. He's just stretching the field and helping everybody else by not touching the ball.
No, you nailed everything you just said. And honestly, I understand your opinion about DeSean Jackson wanting to get rid of him and bench him or cut him or whatever. Personally, I'm going to keep DeSean on the team just because of his speed, especially with Jalen Reagor coming back. Who I would bench is one of the receivers you just mentioned, Hightower. I am literally not into Hightower. I've seen enough from him. I understand he's a fifth-round rookie out of Boise State. I understand that. You need some time for wide receivers to develop, but not when you're a fifth-round pick. When you're a fifth-round pick, GMs around the league look at you and they're like, this kid may have something if he's a diamond in the rough, but we just don't see it. So we're going to take him later on. And the guy goes up for the ball, but he doesn't bring it in. That's all I have to see. He's another stiff like JJ. Unfortunately, we got JJ in the second round. So that was a stiff pick in itself. So Hightower, see ya. Don't let the door hit you in the ass, buddy. I'm sorry I just said that, but it is what it is. You just don't have what it takes. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have what it takes. That's why it's the National Football League. It's the toughest league to succeed in. And I'm sorry, but you just don't have it. And unfortunately, he's gone. I would keep Greg Ward in. I know I just said I'd bench him, but I do agree with your rotation theory. Because if you rotate these receivers in and out, it may trick some of the defense because the wide receivers play differently. But unfortunately, with JJ, I feel like this team won't bench JJ no matter what happens. Because JJ – Howie has a thing for JJ because he picked him. All right. Yep. He's just not going to want to give up on the guy because he wants to be right. He wants to be the smartest guy in the room. So I feel like he's going to put JJ on the field every second. Well, not every second, but at least one down every single drive to see what the kid's got. Because Howie, I don't know if you saw the report, but Howie said he's the one that tells the coaches who to dress on Wednesday. Sometimes not even a day before the game, he tells the coaches who to dress. And to me, that's a big problem because the big fucking nerd upstairs is telling people who to dress on the field. And who knows the players more than anyone on the football team? The coaches, right? Why would the GM – I know the GM picked the team. That's understandable, but why wouldn't the coaches have to say? I don't understand what's going on here with Howie Roseman. I want to get rid of Howie Roseman. I'm sick of Howie Roseman. I've never liked Howie Roseman. I don't care that he won the Super Bowl because he really didn't win the Super Bowl with us. It was all Joe Douglas. I'm just sick and tired of the Howie Roseman experiment. Chip Kelly was a better GM than him, and I just want him to go out of the door. Bye-bye, Howie Roseman. I don't give a shit what you did in the past. I don't care. Just go away after the season. So I don't know. With your theory, though, I understand that you want DeSean Jackson to go, but it's not going to happen. There's just too much speed there. It's way too much speed there.
He's literally a waste of a spot on the field because all he's going to do – I mean, granted, stretching the field is a huge part of the game, but he's not going to get the ball very much. So if you get Alshon, who is a possession receiver who can go up and get the ball. If you have Travis Fulgham that's shown the ability to go up and get the ball, Greg Ward that has shown the ability to run crisp routes and get open and get the ball. Those are three guys that Carson can put his trust in, and he doesn't have to chuck it 50 yards down the field and hope that, DeSean runs out there and gets it. So that's why I would rather have those guys out there. But I understand that he adds a dimension that last year when he was gone, we were literally ducking and diming every tiny little yard that we could get. And that's not how it's going to be this year. We don't need to necessarily rely on that deep threat of DeSean Jackson right now. We can wait till Jalen Reagor comes back.
No, but you just don't get rid of speed, Zach. You don't do it. And you know what? Last year against Washington, I know it was a full calendar year ago, but last year against Washington, Wentz had 2 touchdowns to DeSean Jackson. Both were bombs. And last week I saw something that completely disgusted me when Hightower ran down the field and people were like, oh, Carson Wentz didn't throw it the correct way. He didn't get the Hightower. Well, if that was DeSean Jackson, that completion would have been made because there's a very thin line in the NFL when it comes to speed. It's a game of inches, all right? One guy runs 4.43. One guy runs a 4.31. All right. Who's going to catch that ball? The guy that runs 4.31, right? It was literally that close to being a catch. DeSean would have called it if Hightower wasn't in there and DeSean was in there. So I'm not letting go of DeSean Jackson right now. I'm just not doing it. This guy has done a lot for us actually throughout his career. I understand he's 33 years old, but if he has more in the tank, I'm putting him on the field every single damn time. And it's good that we have other weapons to replace him if he were to go down again. But until he goes down again, I'm putting him out there because the guy has ridiculous speed, especially with Jalen Reagor coming back in 3 to 4 weeks. I can't wait to see those guys on the field at the same time, potentially. I really can't. So I have to disagree with you there, buddy.
I agree to disagree there. That's all right.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just crazy to me. Zach, it's crazy to me. We really don't disagree much, but, I don't know how you could just get rid of DeSean Jackson.
It's give more time to the possession receivers because that's who Carson is. He's a possession receiver type of guy where, he expects you to be in a certain spot when you're running your route. And those are what Alshon Jeffrey is. That's what Greg Ward is. That's what Travis Fulgham showed he can be. DeSean's more of a straight speed kind of guy, which is nice. It's very nice. And we're going to pick our spots with DeSean Jackson. But for the most part, you're going to need those other 3 receivers to keep the chains moving because you're not going to look for that boom or bust 50 yards every single drive. But I would like to see that going early. If we can get DeSean Jackson going early, that would change my opinion. It's going to be a game-to-game kind of basis with DeSean Jackson.
Well, it's funny because this one commenter in the comment section said, since Carson is good for at least one turnover a game, how many are you expecting against this amazing defense? You were saying probably multiple fumbles or interceptions in this game before we started this chat. Well, we started this broadcast because number one, Carson Wentz fumbles the ball a lot. There's no secret to that. Number 2, Baltimore does have an amazing defense. I mean, the only team they really got lit up against was the Kansas City Chiefs, and you know the story with Patrick Mahomes. Even though Patrick Mahomes had a lot of trouble against Oakland last week at home. Well, that's for another day. Baltimore's defense is top-notch, definitely. But how about Lamar Jackson? We really haven't touched on Lamar Jackson yet. This guy is a freak of nature. But you know what? The one thing Lamar Jackson doesn't have? Accuracy, all right? And this has been a problem with him even at Louisville. He has some dynamic wide receivers and weapons. I understand that. He has J.K. Dobbins at running back. He has Mark Ingram at running back. He has Gus Edwards at running back. He has Mark Edwards at tight end. Hollywood Brown at wide receiver. I could go on and on and on. But the thing is if you can't get the ball to your wide receiver, there's no point. And that's what you want to do against our defense because it is a suck-ass defense. It is one of the most trash defenses in the NFL. And you're going to want to expose it with an arm. You're not going to want to run on us all day with Lamar Jackson because we're gonna load the box. We're gonna come after you, and if we're gonna make you test your arm, and if you can't get it to your wide receiver, it's gonna be a long day for you. And I hate saying it's gonna be a long day for Lamar Jackson, but I'm looking at this and they have something prepared for Lamar Jackson because Jalen Hurts in practice today was playing as Lamar Jackson, and the defense was playing him perfectly, as I'm hearing. So it's gonna be an interesting game. I know the Vegas line is 8. So we're 8-point underdogs at home with the fans in the stands. All right. Now, that just tells me maybe, just maybe, the Ravens may blow us out. I understand that. They can blow us out. But as my friend Zomp says, who's going to be back on the show on Sunday, he was off. As my friend Zomp said this week, he's the most pessimistic guy I've ever met in my life. He said, don't be shocked if they make this a game because Lamar Jackson isn't a quarterback. He's just a dynamic athlete, all right? And you got to make him throw the ball. You got to make him throw it all day because if he runs on you, that's game over because he's the king at making things happen with his feet. And you just got to load the box. You got to make sure that nobody runs against this defense, and our pressure's got to get there. When our pressure gets there, we got to rely on Nate Gary to run down Lamar Jackson, and it's going to suck, but, you just got to make it happen. And, Zach, I just want to ask you a question. How the hell are we going to contain Lamar Jackson?
That's a very interesting question. I'd be curious to see what Jim Schwartz has in stock for him. Honestly, I don't want to spy Nate Gary because he just doesn't have the speed to get it done. You even seen him in college where playing at the safety position, he really kind of just played center field because he didn't have the speed to make up on those closing routes. For me, Will Parks is coming back. I don't know if he's going to be available for this Sunday. Kevon Wallace has been playing well. Jalen Mills, that's another guy that could spy on him. So we have weapons. I don't want Marcus Epps spying on him. If it was up to me, I don't want to take Rodney McLeod away from his safety position. So probably Kevon Wallace or Jalen Mills those two would be the guys that I would look to spy on Lamar Jackson. But, it'd be interesting. Jim Schwartz has an interesting way of doing it. And, obviously it's cost us games at times, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully Nate Gary isn't on the field as much as he has been, but you know how that goes.
Yeah, we had a commenter say something. This will be the Eagles linebacker corps' biggest test of the season. All right, well, if this is the biggest test of the season, what about the last, 4 games? They're practically non-existent the last 4 games. And if you're talking about this being the biggest test, you haven't watched a ton of Eagles games this year because they're non-existent every single week. Like, they're the worst, and I'm truthfully proud to say this, or not proud to say this. They are the worst linebacking core in the league. Literally the worst. I don't think there's a second close worst. They are really bad. And I said this before the season started. They don't ever listen to the fans. They don't value the linebacking position. They always rely on the pressure up front. The pressure, when it doesn't get there, we get killed. When it does get there, we win. I understand that. But you cannot always rely on one aspect of your defense to control the outcome of games because that's just not how it works. And that's bad. That's a bad performance by our GM. He's been abysmal for us, dude. And I can't believe I'm going back to Howie Roseman, but the more I think about it, the more I think about how this linebacking core is college-esque. It is completely college-esque, and I'm not talking about D1 college-esque. I'm talking about D2 college-esque. They stink. I think you're better, to be honest with you. I've never seen you play a snap of football in my life, all right? I'd rather put you out there because I think you have a better chance at defending these guys. It's been abysmal watching this linebacking core play. All right, and I can't even imagine what they're going to draw up from Mark Edwards against this linebacking core. I can't even imagine it because Tyler Higbee scored 3 touchdowns against us with the Rams. What do you think Mark Edwards is going to do? Mark Edwards is better than Tyler Higbee. So the more I think about this, the more I'm thinking, how the fuck are we going to win this game? Like, seriously, I don't see how it's going to happen because the Baltimore Ravens, they literally just beat a team that we tied at home. The Cincinnati Bengals only scored 3 points last week. How are we going to beat this team? Like, seriously, I love being optimistic. I understand that. I'm even going to the Giants game next week. I spent a decent amount of money to go, actually, because I love football. I love this team. People are like, why are you going? It's COVID season. I would die for this team, motherfucker. You have to understand that. But the Baltimore Ravens, I had this down as a loss. Going into the season, I'm going to keep it that way. There's no way we're beating the team. Oh, we have a phone call.
Fly Like an Eagle podcast. Oh, and he hung up.
I hung up. Oh, it was a good try. Obviously, maybe he liked the rant I was saying. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he was going to. There we go. Got him back.
Fly Like an Eagle podcast. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm not sure.
Okay, there we go.
All right.
With the same guy. Come on, guy.
All right, good enough for that. All right, Ravens win. We got a prediction from Nicholas Paz. Ravens win 31-17. I'm sorry, Nitro. I just don't see the Eagles winning this game. You don't have to say sorry. I mean, I'm being realistic. Like, I'm trying to find ways to win this game, and I just don't see any. Last week against the Steelers, that's a game, honestly, during the game, I feel like we should have won. We scored 29 points against the best defense in the league. And usually when you score 29 points, you win. All right? The defense was terrible. It was absolutely horrible. Carson did his job. Fulgham did his job again. The offense did their job. Most of our starters, even on the offensive line, they're out. They did their job against a team that we could never beat, especially on the road. We beat them last time. We killed them last time. I'm sorry about that. I short-term memory loss. But we could never beat them in Heinz Field, and we scored 29 points on them in Heinz Field. If Jake Elliott hits that field goal, maybe we win, maybe we don't. But the defense was non-existent. It was non-existent. And usually when you lose games like that, the week after, you don't perform well. That's just how it is. And that's just historically how it is. It stinks. But unfortunately, I don't know. Give us your thoughts. Give us your predictions in the comment section. What is your score for the game? And the best score, maybe we'll give you out a free t-shirt. All right. So the best score prediction is going to be a contest right now. I'm making this a new contest. Best score, closest score. If you nail it right on the head, I'll give you a $20 in cash with the t-shirt. How's that? If you nail it right on the head. So contest right here. We'll keep it up, and I'll write them down as we go. But Zach, I just don't. I don't see it. I don't see it for Sunday. And someone just asked me, am I betting on this game because I'm a semi-pro professional gambler? No, I'm not. I'm not touching it because this is the kind of game where if I were to take the Ravens money line, which is minus 385 right now, which means you're risking $385 to win 100. If I were to take the Ravens money line right now, I would probably lose because that's usually what happens. It's the sucker bet and the home team usually wins. But when you're a home team dog like this, usually home team dogs don't win. It just doesn't happen. And that's a big home team dog. People are going to be like, oh, well, they played the Pittsburgh Steelers stuff. The Pittsburgh Steelers are pretenders. They're the biggest pretending 4-0 team I've ever seen in my life. They had trouble with the Texans. They had trouble with the Denver Broncos. And they had trouble with the New York Giants. They had trouble with all three of those teams. And they let us score 29 points last week. They are not the same as this Ravens team. All right.
Let's try this again. I Like an Eagle podcast. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Same guy.
Same guy.
All right. Might have to bump him. Sorry, bro. Steelers.
What do you guys feel about? What do you guys feel about? What do you guys feel about Parks coming back this week?
Okay, that's a good question. What I feel about Will Parks coming back this week? I mean, I don't have much faith in the guy, you know, but if he could play well, I feel like down the road maybe he'll be a big attribute to this team. But I don't see him I don't see him being anything special in this defense. And I mean, this defense isn't that great to begin with. But Will Parks was a guy we got from Denver for pretty much nothing. So I don't know. I don't know. But you know, if he could play well, that's all that matters to me. So whatever. What do you think, Zach?
For me, Will Parks is like a Swiss Army knife. We can use him in multiple different ways. I think he's going to add a dimension to this defense that we haven't quite seen, something that we've seen with Kevon Wallace a little bit. So, you know, it does help. It's not going to be that guy that puts us over the top, but it's definitely a guy that's going to help this defense. And obviously, after watching last week's game, this defense definitely needs help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe we switch up the defense where we only play two linebackers and throw an extra corner on the field. You know, that's the way the game is being played. That's where the game's going. You have multiple wide receiver, 4 receiver sets, and you know it's time to put another defensive back on the field. And that Will Parks can be that guy where he can play safety, he can play in the box, he can play corner. He could do it all, and he's a Swiss Army knife for us, and it'd be a welcomed return for him.
Yeah, it was a short call, but thanks for the question anyway. We forgot your name. We didn't get your name, but thanks for the call. Danny Lukenheimer asks, if we had trouble stopping Big Ben, how are we going to stop Lamar? Well, that's actually a good question, Danny, because he called on to the show. We would love for you to call back because you're a good call. That's actually a good question because Big Ben could actually throw the ball, and that's how he sliced and diced us because our pressure didn't get to him. Lamar Jackson, you're going to have to make him throw, get your pressure on him. But when you get the pressure on him, if he escapes our pressure and if we have to have our linebackers rely on him, it's going to be a bad day. So you're going to have to work on when he escapes from the pressure more than his arm because his arm sucks. I hate to break it to you. His arm's not that great. I mean, he looked terrible against the Tennessee Titans last year in the playoffs. So in big spots, arm's not that great. He's a great athlete, very, very dynamic force and freak of nature when it comes to running with the ball and escaping pressure. But we'll see what happens there. But Big Ben's just a different story. I mean, Big Ben last week, I said you had to get pressure on him and he wouldn't be able to move. Well, he wasn't able to move, and he still threw for 4 touchdowns to Claypool. So
I don't think Ben beat us. I think it was just he got the ball in the right people's hands and they made plays because obviously it was a death by 1,000 cuts, but Claypool was able to make something out of nothing, and that's exactly what happened. It wasn't that they were throwing deep on us all day. It was Big Ben being a veteran quarterback and taking exactly what the defense was giving him and using it to his advantage. The pressure wasn't getting there, and boom, he just cut us all the way to the end zone, and Claypool was able to get open and get in the end zone. He should have had 5 touchdowns that game. Obviously, one got called back. So, that's wasn't Big Ben. It wasn't anything that Big Ben did specially except for being a veteran quarterback and knowing exactly what the defense is giving him and taking it. Now, Lamar Jackson's still a young quarterback. I know he was an MVP, but honestly, he lacks in the offensive passing game, and he's not as efficient as a passer down the field. I know he's got Hollywood Brown. That's a deep threat. But this guy really is going to make his living on running the ball and throwing for short yards. So if we can have some foreshore tacklers come up and tackle the ball as soon as it's being gotten rid of, then we shouldn't have an issue staying in this game. But we have to play good, clean, solid football, fundamental football, and that's something that you haven't seen this week so far this season.
Yeah, and by the way, shout out to Joey Shakes, big-time YouTuber, almost at 10,000 subscribers. Very proud of him. He's doing a very good job on Eagles content. He says, we will get Will Parks back this week, maybe a loss this week. We leave a lane for Lamar. It's over. Buying the T-shirt in a couple of days. I really appreciate it, Joey Shakes, for buying the T-shirt. You just nailed it on the head. You cannot leave a lane for Lamar, but unfortunately, we're going to leave lanes for Lamar because we're just not very good, especially in the – we're not good in the secondary. We're not good anywhere. So it's going to be a problem. But unfortunately, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But yeah, go subscribe to Joey Shakes on YouTube, and very good Eagles content creator. We got a score prediction: Ravens 28, Eagles 24. Jim Harbaugh outcoaches Doug and Jim Schwartz. Yeah, I mean it's not about the coaches in this game, honestly. It's about Lamar Jackson versus Carson Wentz in my book, or Lamar Jackson versus our defense. So I don't think I hate saying this, but I don't think the coaches have as big as a part in this game as you think they do. Because, and Zach's probably looking at me like I'm crazy, if Lamar Jackson runs on us, that's not the coaches telling Lamar Jackson to run. That's Lamar Jackson seeing a lane and running through it, like Joey Shake said. So that has nothing to do with coaching. That's just him being a freak of nature and just exposing our weaknesses. So it's not about out-coaching us this game. Jim Harbaugh, he's a good coach. He won a Super Bowl, so did Doug Peterson. But it's basically about containing Lamar Jackson, which even if you try your best at, sometimes you can't do. So it's all about how I don't know. It's a good one, but it's a good score. I mean, I could see it happening. I just don't see how we win this game. Really don't. We definitely need speed, dime packages. Yeah, we do. Absolutely. Sean Flores, there's absolutely no way we win this game. I mean, there's a way. When there's a will, there's a way we could win this game, but am I saying we're going to win? No, probably not.
I'll tell you exactly how to win the game. This is exactly how you beat the Ravens. You get ahead early and often, and you force them to go away from the running game and put the ball in Lamar's hand to throw the ball, and then you got to get pressure on him. Things that the Eagles can do, but we have yet to see this season except for the Washington football team game, and we all know how that turned out because they adjusted while we didn't. And Mark is right. It is John Harbaugh, not Jim Harbaugh. So autocorrection there, whatever, so be it. It's mainly going to be Lamar Jackson versus Jim Schwartz in this defense. Jim Schwartz has to put this defense in the best chance to succeed. And like you've seen in that third down play where Claypool was getting covered by Nate Gary wide open on a crucial 3rd and 8 where, you hold them to a field goal. It's still a one possession game with Carson that's been playing well, has been making fourth quarter drives this season, the last couple of weeks. And, you put the ball back in his hands and see what he can do. And unfortunately, they matched up better than we did. And Jim Schwartz is all about the chess game. Well, let's see how well he can play chess against this offense for the Ravens.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, hey, if I don't know. I'm just thinking more of the game, and God, I have no idea. 44th the Legendary says Philadelphia should get absolutely slaughtered in this game. Thank you. But I have an odd feeling it's going to be something like 2012 matchup, and when the Eagles had won 24-23. Well, there's something different about this matchup than that matchup. But thank you for the comment, 44th the Legendary Saints fan, who should have lost on Monday night, but got lucky again with a bounce double. What was it, double doink or just a doink? They should have lost that game, but whatever. Thank you for the comment. Different because we had the fast QB and they had the slow QB with the arm. All right. It's a different way now. We have Carson Wentz who could throw 60 yards down the field. You have Lamar Jackson that could barely make a 25-yard pass. And he's fast as hell. So Michael Vick is on the other team, but you have a faster Michael Vick on the other team. So it's completely different. It's a different matchup. So yeah, it's not going to be the same. It's just not. Like, can we win? Yeah, we can win. I just don't see how we do win. If you think we're going to win, explain how. I don't see it. I don't see it. I think we're going to dismantle the Giants next week. I do, because I think the Giants suck. But as for this game's one you look at the schedule at the beginning of the year. When I thought we were going to be actually half decent, I thought we were going to lose this game. Now I think we're one of the worst teams in the league. Do you think my opinion has changed? No, hasn't. So thank you for the comment, though, 44th. I think this is going to be ugly for us. Yeah, I think so too. Nicholas Paz. Chase Claypool had 4 touchdowns. Not saying he's a bad player, but by any means, Eagles need to draft heavily on defense this year. And we're already talking about the draft. We've been talking about the draft for 3 weeks now. I'm not disagreeing, but the thing is, if Howie Roseman doesn't get fired, we're not going to draft what we need to draft. Yeah. That's the problem. So I wouldn't rely on it. And we're not going to get any linebackers, so it's not like it really matters. When we had Patrick Queen sitting right there when we chose Jalen Reagor, I didn't hate Jalen Reagor. I actually, that was my guy. Jalen Reagor is my guy. I wanted them to pick, and they picked him. But in hindsight, picking Patrick Queen there at 21 instead of Jalen Reagor may have not been a bad move. I'm just being honest because we don't have anything at that position. I agree how he needs to go. Yep. It's going to be a really, really bad game, dude. But we're high nitro. I'm not hiding. I'm here. I've been here. I've been here for weeks. I'm not going anywhere. This team could be 1-15-1. I'll still be here doing a closeout show on the season. I'm one of those personalities, those talk show hosts that tells it how it is. Even though this team is suck ass this year, I'll still be here. My Twitter handle, this is the title on the Twitter handle. All right. Right now it's 1-3-1 going for the 18th pick. You know what that means? That means that we're going to go into the playoffs as a really shitty team and still get a really bad pick, because that's exactly what's going to happen, because everyone else in this division sucks, and that's what's going to happen. I hate it, Zach. I hate it so much because I know what's going to happen, because bad things always happen to us. Always happen to us.
We talked about it post-game against the Steelers where the difference between getting Jalen Reagor or CeeDee Lamb, and this isn't a knock on Jalen Reagor, is basically winning the NFC East, and that's exactly what happened. The Cowboys didn't win, and the Eagles won, and your prize consolation was either getting CeeDee Lamb, who's looked really good, or Jalen Reagor, who we haven't had a chance to see how good he can be. And he's not a bust; he's just injured. So let's figure out what he can be before we decide whether he's a bust or not.
Yeah. No, and I love all the fans that are talking all on social media saying, if you don't want to go to the playoffs, you're not a real Eagles fan. No, being a real Eagles fan is getting the team to a better point to win a championship. All right? This team is not winning a championship. The new norm is winning a championship, not getting to the playoffs and getting your shit kicked in. All right? If you're a real Eagles fan, you want to see this team succeed. All right. And one of the rebuttals to someone's comment was, oh, remember when the Giants got in at 9-7? The Giants had a defense. Defense wins championships. We don't have a defense. What do you see? Like seriously, what do you see? Our defense is our weak point this year. You know? So I'm sorry if that makes me a bad fan, but yeah, I'd rather have the better draft pick. I agree with that comment. From that Cowboys fan, and I hate the fucking Cowboys. NFC's so weak. Yep. Don't care about the playoffs this year. Clean house, starting with the front office. And it's easy to not care about the playoffs this year. Hate to break it to you, because COVID season ruined it with no fans in the stands. So it makes it a little bit easier. Start Sean Bradley for Gary. In 4 steps, he's made 2 big tackles. What do you think about that, Zach?
You know, I've been talking about Sean Bradley and DeSean Taylor since day one. I'm not ready to give up on these guys. Jim Schwartz, for whatever reason, doesn't like to play rookies. He doesn't like to throw them in the fire for whatever reason. But Nate Gary has been absolutely terrible. I think he's given up 23 catches on 23 tries for over 200 and something yards and multiple touchdowns, probably more than you can count on one hand. So at this point, DeSean Taylor, Sean Bradley, step up, show us what you got, because honestly, I think these are 2 fast linebackers that can cover sideline to sideline and get the job done. Something that we've seen with Alex Singleton. I keep bringing his name up because I just like the way that he flies around the ball. If we can just get a linebacking core, one of our big things in the offseason was to add speed. What did we do at the linebacking core with DeSean Taylor and Sean Bradley? That was add speed. Let's use that speed. Why add the speed if you're not going to use it? So if we can get Alex Singleton, Sean Bradley, and then DeSean Taylor out there in the linebacking core, not necessarily all together, all at the same time, but you get 3 guys that are going to just pound and go after the rock wherever the rock may be going. And that's exactly what this linebacker core is missing, because Nate Gary too often is chasing plays and not going to make plays. And that's what we need, is somebody that's going to go make plays, not chase plays.
Tough question. All right, this comes from me, actually. Would you trade Zach Ertz to Arizona for Hassan Reddick? There's the you're thinking about it.
I'd like to see what else is out there, what else we can get for him. Because honestly, this season is what it is. I kind of want to get into our future. I want to get if we're going to get a linebacker, let's get a linebacker and a pick. So let's see if we can get that. Let's see if we can get then some. Doesn't necessarily have to be a 1st or 2nd round pick, but you get a linebacker, you get a 3rd or 4th round pick where you can find values in that pick. That's what I'm all about. When you pay a guy like Carson Wentz so much money, when you pay Brandon Graham, when you pay Fletcher Cox, when you pay this guy and that guy and that guy, you need to be able to hit on your draft picks. So if we can get a linebacker still on his rookie deal and then get a 3rd or 4th round pick on top of it, that's going to help this team build in the right way, because we're not going to have a great cap situation.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. I mean, it's all about longevity at this point, because this Eagles team, their window is shut, in my opinion. You look at the offensive line, it's very old. The defense, not very good and kind of old. Fletcher Cox is going to be hitting 30 next year. He's still in that deal that looks atrocious right now. That deal was pretty much thanking him for the Super Bowl at this point, because he looks non-existent. Malik Jackson. I like Malik Jackson, but can we get better? Yeah, we could get better. Hargraves, whatever. At this point, I just feel like we need to upgrade our defense, and we're an old team with a lot of cap space next year that's non-existent. So it's going to be a problem. It's going to be very problematic next year, and Captain Howie has to figure it out, because he is the cap wizard. Maybe he should stay away from the talent and figure out how to get new talent in here and let someone else handle that position while he figures out the cap. And we need to bring someone else in, like a Joe Douglas, because if that happens, I'd be okay with it. I just don't want Howie Roseman doing it, because he'll bring in the wrong player that doesn't fit or what we need again, and it'll be 10 more years of pure shit. So it's just how I see it. Every time I see DK score a touchdown, yeah, I agree. I agree. It sucks, because I'm not going to lie. I actually liked the JJ pick when it happened. I liked the JJ pick because I saw a big dynamic receiver at Stanford. All right. He has the smarts, and usually when you're smart, you can catch the ball, you can run good routes. In college, it looked like he was a good route runner, and now it looks like he can't run a route to save his life. So when I saw the film on him at first, I thought it was a very quality pick. But when you see DK Metcalf, the reason why we didn't pick him, I found out later, we didn't pick him because he had trouble off the field. And that's another thing about the culture that the Eagles don't like, that I don't ever understand, because when someone has a bad culture, or you think they have a bad culture with their surroundings, you try to talk to them. You try to understand where they're coming from before you make judgment, all right? And that's what they did with DeSean Jackson when they released him in the first place, because DeSean Jackson was just released. We didn't trade him for anything when Chip Kelly was here. So when they released him, it was about the culture, and he's never gotten into trouble in his life. The first time he got into trouble, or was about to get into trouble, was when Andy Reid was here, and they caught a loaded gun in his car in New Jersey. The officer knew Andy Reid. They called Andy Reid. Andy Reid got down there, and he was like, if you ever do something stupid like this again, I will cut you myself off this team. And that is a true story, all right? I don't know why after that they thought that he was a problem with this culture, but this Eagles front office seems to rush to judgment way too fast, and I don't like it. I don't like it. You need thick-minded people in the room, and the Eagles just don't have many of them. And honestly, now that I look back at it, I don't know how we won that Super Bowl with who we have in the front office. I don't understand it. Was it just Joe Douglas? Because now every single day that passes by, it looks bad. It just looks like a fluke to me, and it's weird. I don't know. Maybe I think differently. I just don't know anymore, dude. No, it gives more chances than the Patriots. Yeah. The Patriots scoop up the problems, and they turn them into something. They had Antonio Brown, unfortunately, who's too much of a problem. Nothing's going to happen unless we get Howard fired. Yeah, I agree. Do you think Jeffrey comes back and shows what he's got, or do you think he's washed up? It depends, because Alshon Jeffrey, for him to perform, he needs to be completely healthy at all times. Right? He can't have a little injury to him, or else he doesn't succeed. Now, I heard the torn rotator cuff in the Super Bowl. I heard that story. I understand that. I don't know how much I believe of that, because I've seen him in past years stay off the field for 3 or 4 weeks because he had a minor injury. So I don't know how much I believe of that, because a torn rotator cuff, believe it or not, I think hurts. So I mean, I've never had one, but it just sounds pretty bad. So I don't know. What's the number to call in again? It's at the bottom of the screen, Danny. So if you want to display your frustrations or whatever, it's just passing on by. So it's 518-539-4911 if you want to call in. I have a lot to say. Yeah, call in, dude. We have 15 minutes left here, so say whatever you want. Who gives a fuck if he has trouble off the field? Yeah, exactly. As long as this is one thing I've never gotten. That's a good comment. Who cares if players have trouble off the field as long as they're not killing somebody, like Aaron Hernandez? Who cares? Like, if people get in trouble with a DUI, this is the one thing I never got. I might be rambling on a little bit here, but if players get a DUI off the field, is it bad? Yeah, it's bad. I understand that, but here we go. We got a phone call.
Fly Like an Eagle podcast. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Danny again. I called in, calling from Illinois. I called in, I think it was after the Washington game.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts. Paul Scott, I don't even know where to begin. I think the problem is with this team is we've gotten, obviously, you guys were talking about it, we've gotten old. Many of the players, that we've relied on for years, especially in the trenches, they're not spring chickens anymore. They're like Lane Johnson, Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, they're old now and they're not as good as they used to be. I think the bad drafting, Howie's been horrible at drafting, that's caught up to us. And so I think we've gotten old and we don't have a lot of really good we got some good young players, but we've gotten old. We haven't drafted very well, and we're banged up, and our team is going downhill. But the problem is, and this sucks because I'm all about winning. I want to win. I talked about this when I called in last time, but we're stuck in no man's land because we're not good enough. Because the ultimate goal in football is to win championships and to have a team that is consistently competing for a championship. And that's how it's been the last couple of years. When Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz came, after their that 2016 season, you could see that this team was building something. Now, I didn't think they were going to win the Super Bowl the next year, but you could see that this organization was heading in the right direction. Now we're not. Now we're heading downhill, but we're in a position where because I'm going to tell you this right now. This team is going to be 1-4 because we're going to get destroyed by the Ravens. We're not going to stop Lamar. But then guess what? We're going to do upsets and then win this division because everybody else in the division is horrible. And then we're going to get into the playoffs and we're going to get this draft pick. And I want to win, and I do want to get Carson playoff experience because he, left with the concussion last, and Clowney killed him from behind in the back of the head. But I don't see the point in winning the division and getting knocked out in the first round and just being stuck in no man's land. That's just where I think we are, and it sucks. So.
See, and Danny, you made a lot of good points there, and I'm going to rebuttal off what you said. This is the first time as an Eagles fan I've actually seen fans root for the play. Well, not root, but say they want to get a better draft pick than go to the playoffs and see what we got. Because every Eagles fan knows that watches this team every Sunday knows this team isn't good enough to win in the playoffs. This team is very bad, and the only thing that isn't stopping us from not getting to the playoffs is the fact that this division is so bad. And that's the problem. That's why on my header on Twitter it says 1-3-1 heading for the 18th pick. And that's not a joke, because if we get to the playoffs, we're automatically going to get a late round pick, mid to late round pick. And when you're a bad team, that's the last thing that you want. And I just don't understand why anybody at this point, especially if we get destroyed and hosed by the Baltimore Ravens this Sunday, why anybody would go to the playoffs. And let's just say hypothetically we beat the Ravens. Okay, I don't see it happening, but let's just say hypothetically we beat the Ravens. If we beat the Ravens, that's a complete 180. I'm back on the train, because if you beat a team like that, your season turns right around. Especially when you're in a division that sucks. Now you're playing with house money at that point. Now you're playing against the Giants, and you could go to 3-3-1 real quick. And now it gets interesting going to that Dallas game. So, hypothetically, if we win this game on Sunday, yeah, our season isn't over. I just don't see it happening. I don't. So, if that makes me a bad fan, whatever.
Well, the other thing I wanted, but, I just feel like it's going to be a roller coaster all year long because, as soon as we went down 31-14 against the Steelers, I said, just watch. They're going to try to come back and reel me in and think that they're going to pull this off, and then they broke my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Jake Elliott didn't help any matters in that situation. I mean, granted, it is very tough to kick field goals in Heinz Field. I think the longest field goal ever made there was 57 yards, if I'm not mistaken. It was very tough to kick field goals there. And, I have to fault the kicker on that one because it was close, but it wasn't close enough. You always have to nail those kicks, especially at that moment. But, it is what it is. It wasn't in the cards because we never won in Heinz Field before. That stadium opened up in 2000. We haven't won there since we started playing there. And this was our chance to win there with the team that we have, ironically. And it sucked, man. Watching that game sucked. And, I'm shocked I didn't get as mad as I did on the post game after that game. But, I know that the Steelers aren't that good of a football team. I just know it. They're 4-0, but they're fool's gold. They're just not that good of a football team. And we had that game in our hands. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought because when we started to come back, I knew they were going to try to get the ball out of Ross. That's the other. I hate the way that we build our defense because I understand you want to get pressure on the quarterback, but if it doesn't get there, we don't have the linebackers or the players in the secondary to stop anybody.
Nope.
I hate that. I wanted a linebacker in the draft, and of course this stupid fucking GM. Sorry for my.
No, this is an unfiltered show. You're good.
I just seriously, why don't they address some of these other positions? And I know Howie. I know he was the GM of the team that won the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, I want him gone. This guy can't draft. Because here's the thing: we're like, I don't know how much money we are over the cap. We're gonna have to gut this team, and that's the right thing to do because we got these older players. We're gonna have to get younger. And when I say rebuild, it won't be like the Bengals where we win 1 or 2 games. But yeah, we're gonna have to because of the cap. I thought this guy was supposed to be a cap guy because that's all I hear from all the other Eagles YouTubers, idiots like Lord Brunt is, how he's a cap guy. Then why are we so over the cap?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever. You know, I understand, but whatever. But I just don't trust this guy to draft.
Well, they call him a cap guy because they're expecting him to really Houdini his way out of this one, this upcoming offseason. And I just don't see it because we're going to be in cap hell. I think we're 9 million over the cap next year. You're going to have to make some moves and you can't really sign anybody. That's the thing. You know, the fact of the matter is this team needs a lot of talent on it next year. And if he truly is a cap guy, which I don't know if he's going to be here, to be honest with you, but if he truly is the cap guy and he makes it work, I'll give him credit. But I just don't see it happening. You know, we're going to be in cap hell next year. I understand where you're coming from completely, and it pisses me off.
Well, I supported Howie a couple of years ago because he did help bring the team to Super Bowl. Like, he has done some good things, but he hasn't drafted well. I get it. And there's no perfect GM, but it's like every year we miss on a lot of these picks, especially these high draft picks. I mean, when was the last time we really had a great high round draft pick? I have to say it, although now he's looking horrible, is probably Carson Wentz.
Yeah. I mean, right? Carson played a good game last Sunday. You know, no one's been more hard on the guy than me. When Travis Fulgham and him made that connection, he looked great. I'm not even going to lie. That's why I'm saying I usually don't jump the gun on these players, but I'm saying the last 2 weeks Travis Fulgham played, he looked phenomenal. Like, he looked like a breath of fresh air. He looked like a guy that where you do want to cut players like Alshon Jeffrey and rely on Fulgham. Because Fulgham's younger. You know, he's playing with heart. He's playing with confidence. And the guy's catching everything. He's bouncing off of defenders. You know, this is a guy that looks like he loves playing the game. And to me, it looks like he's reliable because he's that big body receiver that you always wanted. And I don't know. I like the guy a lot. I actually compared him, like his style to play. I'm not comparing him to the player, but I compared his style of play to Randy Moss because this is a guy that jumps up for the ball. He comes down with it all the time. He bounces off of defenders, and he's just reliable. You know, that's the kind of guy you want on your team. And if he could be half of what Randy Moss was, we have a bright future with this guy.
I will say this. I will give Howie credit. We are good at finding practice squad players. If we were as good at finding practice squad players, if we were as good at that as if we were at that drafting, if we could find practice squad players, if we could draft like that, we'd be a great team. But we're great at finding those guys, but we just can't draft that very well. And we're going to be rebuilding soon because you look at the situation, and yeah. But I still feel like we can win. I mean, the Cowboys lost Dak. I mean,
yeah, that's another thing I wanted to ask you. Do you think, you know, this is crazy because I evaluate quarterbacks all the time. I actually think, and you might disagree with this, but since Andy Dalton finally has the talent around him, I actually think they have a better shot to win with Dalton than they did with Dak, and it sucks. It really sucks.
I can actually see where you're coming from because I feel like they're going to actually try to be more balanced because with that offense, you know, because they got those great receivers, they just have Dak throwing the ball all the time, you know, and he throws for a lot of yards and whatever. Although a lot of times, if you looked at it last year, a lot of it was just in garbage time when the game was out of control. But I think they're going to try to run Ezekiel Elliott and try to be more balanced. And I could see that team coming together because they're like, you know, we want to win this, you know, for our starting quarterback, you know, our leader, you know, and Dak. You know, so I definitely see where you're coming from. I think the Eagles, because Andy Dalton, you know, Dak can run a little bit. You know, he's got some mobility. You know, Andy Dalton's a pocket passer. You know, so I feel like our D-line could be better. And that Cowboys team still has a lot of talent. I'm going to tell you, I would not be surprised if the Cowboys, I wouldn't be surprised if they won the division, you know, still, even with Andy Dalton. And then that makes that whole situation complicated. Because if I'm the Cowboys and I can bring in Andy Dalton and win, you know, I don't know why I'd give Dak that contract. I mean, I think Dak's a good quarterback, but I don't know.
Oh, I mean, morally, the Cowboys should sign him to somewhat of a contract, or at least give him another franchise tag for $42 million this time. You know, they should do something to bring him back. But in a business standpoint, I wouldn't give him a contract now, would you? I mean, his ankle was split in like 2 ways. You know, so I mean, you can't, like, in a business standpoint, is he ever going to be the same again?
Yeah, well, even like Carson, for example. Let's be honest, since that knee injury, when Carson first came into the league, even his rookie year, I thought the guy was a stud. I thought and I know his rookie year he was kind of up and down. You know, he made some mistakes, but I thought I told I grew up in Illinois. I became an Eagles fan because I liked their colors when I was young. So I've never actually even been to Philadelphia, but I told everybody at my school, I said, just watch, because I actually bought his jersey. I said, just watch, this guy's going to become a great quarterback, and he was. And the thing that made him really exciting, and he can still move around now, he can still make plays with his legs, but I mean, he was a magician. I mean, his ability to. My favorite play of his, well, I have a lot of favorite plays of his, but it was that first touchdown of that 2017 season. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Mm-hmm.
He spun.
Are you talking about when he spun around and found Aguilar?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was there. I saw it live. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, still has a really.
Yeah, that's another. That's another piece that we finally got rid of, and he looks like he found his way in Oakland. Well, actually, Las Vegas. So it kind of sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. That's what happens. Sidney Jones is balling in Jacksonville, and Nelson Aguilar is balling in Vegas. So it is what it is. But we want to thank you for the call, Danny. You're always a great caller on this show. Call back Sunday or Thursday. But before you go, we want your score prediction and how we contain Lamar Jackson.
We lost him.
We lost him. All right. Well, thank you for the call anyway, Danny. We really appreciate calling in. Great call every single time you call in. So, yeah, definitely keep calling, and maybe you'll be a regular caller. Who knows? But Cameron Wells says, just discovered your channel. Both smart, entertaining guys that know the team. Thank you very much, Cameron Wells. We are on every single Thursday and after the games on Sundays. As for next week, and now I'm going to say this right now, because as for next week, it's a little bit different because I'm actually going to the game on Thursday. So we usually do the post games after the games. I'm going to try to continue that trend. I don't know what Zach's schedule is because Zach, it's a very late night. But I'm going to try to attempt to do the post game with Zomp outside the link. So that should be very special, or inside the link, depending on what the rules are for COVID. That should be very interesting, but we will definitely have a post-game knocked out after that game. But as for the pregame, we're going to try to bump that out on either Monday or Tuesday because obviously it's a short week. But as for this game, I'm going to give a score prediction. Zach, I got to go with it. I got to go with 34-14 Ravens.
All right, for me, it's got to get ugly for the Eagles to be in it. So I'm going to take 27-21. I'm going to go with the Ravens. The key to win the game is you got to play good, smart football, fundamentally sound. You got to make tackles. You can't miss any tackles. You can't turn the ball over. You got to contain. You got to make sure that Lamar doesn't get out of the pocket. Force him to throw the ball on the offensive side of the ball. Keep pounding the rock. Keep getting it open to your receivers and let the receivers make the plays. Don't try to do too much, especially if DeSean Jackson is cleared to go on Sunday. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to force it to him. Let the game dictate what you're going to do with the ball. So if he does all of that stuff, if we play good, fundamentally sound football, which we haven't done this year, if we could do that, there's no doubt in my mind that we could win this game.
And we got a super chat. 199 from Jay Smooth. Thank you for the super chat. Great stream. You should get your on here as a guest. That probably will. The odds of me getting someone like that on here are the same odds as it would be very tough getting him on here, especially because of our past. So let's just say the odds aren't good on that. But thank you for the super chat, 199 super chat from Jay Smooth. We really appreciate it. It goes towards the channel, of course, to upgrade everything. Hopefully we get a green screen down the road, but hopefully you guys are enjoying the content that we produce every single week for you at Fly Like an Eagle Podcast. It's been great for us so far, and we're only going to get better. Our goal is to make it the best Eagles podcast going. That's our goal. And, me, Zach, we always love you guys calling in, commenting in, and I'm sorry for that, but yeah, Zomp will be back on Sunday. He's always going to do the post games. Last week he was dealing with something, so that's that. Trevor's probably not going to be on anymore, so it's going to be a 3-man band. And yeah, we just thank God for our followers, our fans. We really appreciate you guys. And yeah, I don't see how we win this game, but if we do, our season's turned around just like that. So you know what? As always, fly Eagles fly. What do you got to say, Zach?
All right, so I want to leave it off with this. Thank you guys for following, calling in, commenting in. If you want to follow the show on Facebook, on Twitter, at Eagle_pod. We're also available, our podcast, across basically every streamland you can get. We're on Amazon, we're on iTunes, we're everywhere. So just search, give it a like, give it a follow, because that just goes to show us how well we're doing. And we always enjoy feedback. Give us a rating, let us know how we're doing, how we can improve. And, we're available on Teespring. If you want to buy a shirt, you want to contribute to this team on Teespring, just search it up. It's on our Facebook as our website, Fly Like an Eagle. I can't remember exactly what it is. I think it's teespring.com/store/FLE podcast, but I'm not sure. Check the Facebook for that as well. But once again, available across all platforms for the podcast. So make sure you check them out. Make sure you follow them, like them, listen to them, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, and we'll post a link for that right after the show on our Facebook account. But by the way, on your way out, guys, we want you to do us a favor. Hit that thumbs up button, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, even Apple Music, Spotify. Just subscribe to it. Smash that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, do us that favor. And we want to thank you for tuning in every single week. We will see you Sunday after the Eagles. Hopefully win this game, probably not. But as always, go Birds, fly Eagles fly.